Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
Look at that. My goodness gracious.
Well, I should put the Christmas thing up too.
Look at that. Do that one more time.
Do that one more time. Since it.
We won't even get in trouble for saying Merry Christmas. Got every kind of weather imaginable there.
Just full of all kinds of good things tonight. And welcome everybody to RVing in New England on Wednesday night as we get close to the holidays. We are pretty close, John. You know, we got 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah, what? Christmas is Thursday, right?
Yeah, so we'll do a show next week, which would be the 17th. Yep. Then we will not do shows on the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, or the 31st, which is New Year's Eve, and then we'll come back on in early the first Wednesday in January. So we do that, yeah. So cool. you were traveling last week.
I was traveling last week, and you know what?
You're on assignment, as they say.
On assignment, as they say, out in Elkhart, and they got nailed with snow out there, and just like we did. And ironically, my hotel was directly across the street from Notre Dame, and at that time, Notre Dame was still considered to be a lock in the playoffs, so everybody had Notre Dame gear on. And today, because they didn't make the playoffs and they're not going to a bowl game, people are
They are not happy campers out there. And it's the world against Notre Dame. They may have made a very bad PR decision.
Not going to that game. I can't figure out why, because for years and years and years, Notre Dame didn't go to games. Then they started going, and they travel well, and which means they have legions of people from all over the country that follow that team.
Right.
And, they call them the Subway alumni in New York. When I think they played in a Pinstripe Bowl there a few years ago. Maybe that was Syracuse. But you know what? Some bowl is not going to be happy that Notre Dame is not going. And there was another big name team that decided not to go as well. I forget.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I forget who that was. But anyway, we want to say hello to our friend Don and Pat in Texas, where it's not snowing, and Walter, where it's not snowing as well.
No, but it's going to get cold here tomorrow.
What? What's it going to get? Don't expect.
It's going to get so cold tomorrow that Disney has closed the, what do they call it? Something lagoon, waterfall lagoon. Or Walter will know. He goes up there quite a bit. But they've closed there. Right. That's at Disney, and down here they're looking at in the 40s in the morning. So yeah, it's cool. A little bit brisk out there. But anyway, so you were in Elkhart.
Our audience, why we were in Elkhart, and we were doing some work for a brand new company. We're going to see the video in just a second. But it's called Dreamhaven RV. These are products that are made in Australia. And, when you look at them on a website or a brochure, they all kind of look alike. But I shouldn't say I was skeptical, but all the people that we talked to said, "Oh, these are going to be different. You're not going to know. You're going to be able to tell a difference." Yeah. And until I got in one and walked in the steps and got in it and pounded my arms and wrists and hands against the door, I wasn't yet impressed, but once I got in it, I was impressed. And as Jay Leno would say, why don't we roll that tape? It's kind of self-explanatory. Thanks, Bob, and hello, everybody. And we are at the junction of Elkhart in Australia. We're in the middle of America, and we're talking with two men who you're going to know a lot more about in the coming years. We have Lindsay and Roy, and we're all in a Dreamhaven RV. And guys, tell our audience a little bit about Dreamhaven, because it's one of the coolest products I've had a chance to see in the past few years. Roy?
Sure. So Dreamhaven is the American name for a long-established Australian RV business called Crusader. Crusader's already used here in the US, so they reverted back to the original name, which was Dreamhaven. And Crusader's been going in Melbourne for the best part of 20 years and still operated by Serge Valentino, the founder, and his business partner Michael Padusis. Melbourne is a large city on a bay in southern Australia, about 4 million people, and the northern suburbs are the home of the RV industry in Australia.
Just like we are in the home.
Just like here in Elkhart, Indiana. The thing that is important to understand about Australia is geographically, it's roughly the same size as continental USA, but it only has 27 million people. So just imagine if you had the population of Texas in a space the size of the USA.
Yeah, and they have all those Outback steakhouses everywhere.
And they're upside down too.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
We talk about Outback and, using that phrase to talk about Australia. And Lindsay, you told me that there's very few paved roads in Australia. So for RVs, they have to be built ruggedly. And this sure is. Is there a door you can slam there? How about that cabinet behind you? See that, folks? You know what? It's sturdy as can be, but
built tough, built Aussie tough.
We want to wish you guys the best in bringing this product to the U.S.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lindsay, where can people find out more about Dreamhaven?
DreamhavenRV.com. www.dreamhavenrv.com.
Tell them Bob and John sent you.
Yeah, it is quite a product. John and I are going to help them out to find a dealer or a couple of dealers here in New England. But this is a uniquely different product. It is truly built for the Outback. I mean, it's people are going to see the difference. It's not inexpensive, but you pay for what you get, and I think you're going to like the product itself. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of news going on in this industry, Bob. That's what the topic of tonight's show is. People coming, people going, people expanding. And speaking of coming and going, Bernie's just coming on right now. And a lot of things we want to talk about with Bernie. And the main topic is what's going on with Campers Inn and their acquisition of Lazy Days, not just in Sefner, Florida, which is, Bob, I think, you know what, you'd agree that going back 15 or 20 years, that property that they bought, that was ground zero for the RV retailing industry in the entire United States.
It actually goes back 50 years. I did a story on with RV News in 2001, prior to the bombing, and we wrote about the 25th anniversary of Lazy Days. That was 2001. So they're coming up on 50 years. Campers Inn's coming up on 60 years. But they turned the whole, they started in a literally almost like a tomato patch in front of Don Wallace's father's home. And they were actually in Tampa. And then they moved out to Sefner with a completely different concept of making it a destination location, not an RV dealership. A destination location where they fed everybody breakfast and lunch. They had a fleet of golf carts that was larger than most golf courses in Florida. They had the Crown Club. If you purchased something over $250,000, you had your own service department, your own concierge, your own offices up on the hill just behind them. They had a campground. They literally had everything for people to go into in one place.
And not to blend two stories into one, but they also had a Camping World store right inside Lazy Days.
Outside, it was a separate building. The parts and accessory store was
right
in the park,
inside the property. Yeah.
in the parking lot. Yeah, it was just, and it was something that people went to for an entire day, and sometimes they just went and stayed for 3 or 4 days and went back, every
They had
day.
the food. They had the free food. They served people. They served 400 or 500 people a day in a giant dining hall, which Lazy Days promptly sold. I mean, when Lazy Days went through a couple internal ownership transitions, that's the first thing they did with the bean counters was get rid of the beans and the hot dogs.
Get rid of anything that didn't produce revenue. And actually, before they actually got rid of it, they did start to charge for it. So they did, and then they just killed it altogether.
Yeah.
So
and then they had the beautiful campground. Which
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Camping World. People were shocked. They were shocked when Campers Inn bought Lazy Days. It was on the market for quite some time, but it was the largest acquisition in the history of the RV industry. It was like swallowing a whale, and Ben and Jeff had big swords or big knives or whatever the hell they did. They said, we'll do this by Thanksgiving. Everybody said, you're crazy. They'll never do it. And the day before Thanksgiving, they closed it. And
let Bernie talk.
Hey, guys.
Bernie on. Let him set a date.
Bernie. Oh, Bernie's here. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just background at this point, I guess, but that's okay. I was actually just really excited to see John because he had been traveling in Italy with the whole family, and then he takes off to Indiana last week and tries to get some shrimp on the Barbie or whatever he was doing over there. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching this whole thing kind of, work out. At first it was kind of like, well, we announced that we have intention to make the purchase, and there's some diligence that needs to get done, and they're still wondering at that point, is it really going to happen? And then a couple of weeks later, here we are, adding 8 new stores and in all different places around the country. I see that a lot of my new colleagues are reaching out and on LinkedIn and things like that, friending me and all that and getting connected. So that's great. They're just as excited as we are to get this thing going. I have to, put a shout out to Lori Hirsch and her team that had to onboard hundreds and hundreds of new employees. God bless her and the human resources team for handling all that. And then even the people working the website and everything, they built a special compartment on our website for the Lazy Days products that are out there, and they're on special pricing. But yeah, we didn't take everything that was offered to us, I guess, is what I've been told.
Right. And they took 10.
Yeah. I only see 7 on this part of the site, but I didn't see all of that. But I guess, I actually met an employee who's going to be working in an Illinois store who was a general manager out in Omaha, Nebraska. And I think that was where it was at any rate. And we didn't decide to open that store or take it on. It was really another big store from what he had said, but it was pretty exciting.
Well, when you look at the makeup of the 10, Lazy Days is going to stay a Lazy Days as a Campers Inn company.
Yeah.
3 of them in Minnesota, Knoxville, and Tucson are Airstream stores. They're going to stay Airstream of whatever city they have, which is what Airstream wants now. They want separate products. And then you got 6 others that are already rebranded as Campers Inn RV.
Yeah, that we got Johnstown, Colorado, Knoxville, Tennessee. I think that Wilmington, Ohio. I'm pretty sure that's one of the Airstream stores. Tucson, Arizona.
No, Wilmington's not Airstream. In Ohio, Mark Wahlberg's got the Airstream dealership. The famous actor, he's got.
Oh yeah.
He's got the Airstream dealership there. But you got
That's
Arizona,
That's right.
Arizona, Minnesota, Colorado, Tennessee, Utah, and Ohio. But
Yeah.
jumping back to Camping World, the big announcement, they also shocked the world. And 3 weeks before the end of the year, announced that Marcus Lemonis has resigned his position. And Matt Wagner, who's been with him for 19 years and has been president for quite some time, is taking over the company. It'll be a different take. I did listen to their investor conference that they had this week with Raymond James. Either one of you want to guess how big Camping World is?
In what, in dollars or
In dollar revenue? Yeah.
I would say, I don't know. What do you think? Maybe $750 million a year. I don't know.
They're definitely into the billions.
$6 billion.
Wow.
And that's good. That's good. Sam Enterprises, it's Camping World, it's all of their peripheral insurance and everything else. $6 billion. Now, what's very interesting about it, and I did listen to the whole investor conference, and I read their press release. In both the press release and the conference presentation, Marcus said he founded Camping World. Marcus Lemonis did not found or start Camping World. In 1997, the original Camping World was purchased by the Affinity Group, which was then Good Sam and Motorhome Life and Trailer Life. And David Garvin was the president. And I did stories on David way back then. I had already been writing for a couple of years in the industry. So I don't know why they positioned it as Marcus founding it. Not, that they can do what they want.
So when did they start? Because wasn't it like back in the 50s or something? They're older than Campers Inn, I think.
Oh, you mean Camping World?
Yeah, Camping World. When did they start?
I don't have the deal, but they were quite old actually when they were purchased. And at that time, all they had, the most famous thing that they had was a direct mail catalog. Of course, direct mail being very big, and
Back
that
then.
was they had every part and accessory you could think of. And if you go back that time, I remember whenever I went to see a dealer or do any training on parts and accessory stores and what have you, they'd all say, we price they literally said it. We price the stuff in our stores according to what the Camping World catalog says. And I tried to make them understand the value of the independent dealer. And you're worth more money. That's why people come in here to see it. Why would you ever do it? And I remember giving a keynote presentation for a distributor that's out of business now up in Maine. And I challenged all the dealers to go back and raise every price on their shelf 10%. And they thought I was crazy. They said, you're crazy, because they were so intent on just pricing according to Camping World. So I guess they liked it. They invited me back the next year. First thing I did was, how many of you were here last year? Put your hand up. And how many of you went back and raised your price 10%?
Nobody.
Wow.
You have to sell the value. And we're going to get into that next week. Next week, we're going to talk about the Priority RV Network and Route 66 Network, which is independent dealers that have bonded together for purchasing power and programs that they can give nationwide. So we'll give the other side of the coin versus, talking about the mega dealers this week. But in 2006, to go back to Camping World there, that was when Marcus started Freedom Roads. And that was when they started buying dealerships, something that they said that they would never do. And they acquired dealerships and they merged those into Camping World in 2006. And Marcus became the CEO of the combined entity. And then in 2011, they brought in Good Sam Enterprises. But Marcus Lemonis did not found Camping World.
But Bob, Walter has a clarification down. Check out Walter's post at 721.
Yeah. He was co-founder of Freedom Roads, for which I will not comment.
He was. He started that as a separate entity when they decided to purchase dealerships, and then he did eventually bring that in under the Camping World umbrella.
Right.
But
Now,
Marcus has been, there for 25 years, and I don't have any problem with the growth of Camping World and them doing $6 billion. That's what America was founded on. Start a company, build a company.
Marty is happy.
Huh?
I'm sure Marty Hanoud is happy, and I'm sure the flags are happy.
Yeah, everybody that's
happy.
right, exactly. Everybody that sold to Camping World didn't complain. They just,
they got out when they could.
Hurried to get the check in, which is one of the things we should talk about. When you look at the marketplace, and they covered this, interesting enough, in the investment call, none of these three companies have purchased a lot of dealerships the last 2 years. It's been a kind of an unstable environment. So the acquisitions are way down in terms of dealers. And they felt that one of the reasons was that a lot of the good ones have been purchased, whether it was done by Blue Compass or Campers Inn or Camping World, that they've been purchased. So the ones that are left are ones that want to sell, but they may not have the balance sheet that is going to bring them the rewards that they thought. So they felt that acquisitions would pick up again next year.
So, but we have several different topics on the table here right now. Number one is the Campers Inn acquisition of Lazy Days and what that could mean for Bernie. And Bernie, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but here's my suggestion from a marketing perspective.
Sure.
You sell an RV to someone in New England who goes to Florida, they're not orphaned when it comes to service. They've got several points in Florida, with the two Jacksonville stores and now Tampa, that they can get their unit serviced at. That's a great selling feature.
Well, they also have Leesburg and Ocala, so Campers Inn has got 5 locations.
Yeah, we got the Jacksonville, all that. Yeah, so even today, I had an example where the customers that came in to look at some product, they're going to be getting to their Florida destination like the first or second week of January, and we didn't have exactly what they were looking for. But I said, well, let me take a look around what else we have, nearer to your destination. And all of a sudden, because they were concerned about service and all that other stuff, I'm like, don't worry about that. We have 5 stores down in Florida, and we're going to be able to take good care of you. So
and that's an important point, and especially the way the Hirsch's purchased. Originally it was basically Route 95 from Maine to Florida, but that's diversified with Pennsylvania and Ohio and that type of thing. But that is an important point, that if you're going to go to another dealership, you're going to have to stand in line a little bit longer than if you bought it from that same parent company. Now,
absolutely.
The other thing on the table here is, my guess is that Walter's not shy, but Walter was a Good Sam regional president or state president.
State representative. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe Walter wants to comment on how Good Sam was handled in the last few years as a camping club, as opposed to just Good Sam being an insurance company to, sell. Walter, you're more than welcome to do that. And the third thing, Mr. Zagama, you have not mentioned it yet, but you go way back with Marcus. And when Marcus purchased the first one in New England, I think it was Marty's USRV down in Berkeley, Mass. Marcus was showing up for the grand opening, and you weren't available, but I went there, and I invoked your name. And you know what? Marcus made me wait for 2 hours for an interview. Then he refused to give it to me. But we have it all on tape. It was 12 years ago. If you want to roll that tape now, while Walter figures out what he wants to say. Please stand
What
by.
do they do?
Don't adjust your TV.
They just-
That was a good lead in, though, John. Sorry about
That's a great lead in,
they-
but we're talent short when it comes to engineering tonight, Bernie. Where the hell is Bill Sell?
I have no idea what I did. Let me stop that. Let me back it up. Go to
Well,
share.
Walter gave us an answer. We can read that in the meantime.
You work on that, and I'll talk with Walter here. Walter says that Good Sam is a financial services bureau for which the camping club was a mailing list that they used to drive revenue. Good Sam Camping Club sort of stopped being important about 3 or 4 years before COVID. And you know what? The people who were Good Sam members, they developed a camaraderie, a closeness in their relationships that I know all the New England people, enjoyed each other's company. And when the Rhode Island group would have something, all the Massachusetts people would go and support them. Same thing.
Like
with
Halo's Wish, for instance, was a Good Sam's derivative.
It was an offshoot. It was an offshoot.
The reason that is not going to work. It worked earlier today, but that was a tape that you had done 12 years ago with Marcus.
Yep.
He kind of snubbed you a little bit, and then you pursued and chased him all the way into the camping store. That was when they were doing the grand opening for Marty Hanu's operation. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try it again later. But
and then there was the other one that we did at the of the grand opening.
So was there? So this was the comment that you made. You're right, and they, interesting enough, indicated today during the investor conference that they felt that they had not maximized the Good Sam enterprises enough. It was kind of ironic listening to it because they had such a national network of state directors like Walter, like Jason, like Joe Corvosa, and they were partners. It would be, husband and wife teams that did it, and they look forward to 2026 as maximizing more opportunities through the Good Sam enterprise, which would be more products like protection, like warranty issues, like financing, and pushing that out. So they recognize that that's an area of growth, and they felt that quite honestly, the new units could slide next year. They're going to build up their inventory now through the show season, but if they start to dip next year, motorized units, which have been sliding, then they're going to wholesale them out. They're going to not wholesale them, but they're going to sell them off at discounts so that they don't have them sitting in inventory, because that's going to be the general consensus of a lot of these people. And the same thing goes for Blue Compass and Campers Inn. They've got a lot of inventory out there, and the market's not turning as fast as they thought. So there's going to be an eagle eye on the consumer shows, starting with the Florida Super Show in January, to see what the activity level is.
In Boston, Boston, although it's a lot smaller overall, it's one of Campers Inn's best shows of the year, if not the best at times. But this year should be different because Sefner is going to be part of that show, so that should be a nice boost.
Who's going to be in part of the show?
Yeah, the Sefner Lazy Days store, Tampa
is going to be part of the Boston show.
No, part of the Tampa Super Show. Yeah.
Oh, part of well, there were a number of years that Lazy Days boycotted the Tampa Super Show,
and had the show right there.
They set up across the street and put big banners on the fences and what have you, and then they came back into it. But Tampa is a manufacturer, so you don't necessarily have a Lazy Days display. You do when it gets to the public. But,
well, it's not going to be a display. It's going to be, they're going to be staffing it, and then products are going to be coming somewhat from there too, or purchased through that store. Yeah.
Well, the products wind up being in different places. So the Tiffin products are going to be in the Tiffin display. The Winnebago's going to be in the Winnebago. So that's one of the nice things about the Tampa show. If you're going to look for a product and you know the product that you want, you only have to go to that display. Everything is there. And did I
Oh
see?
yeah, they'll have the whole kit and caboodle.
Did I see one of your notes today that you guys are going to bring 100 units to Boston?
Yeah, it's actually going to be a little bit more than that. Yeah, we have
a little bit more. So between you and Pete's, you'll probably have half the show, right?
Between us and Pete's, we're going to have about 3/4 of the show.
Yeah, it's going to be
a lot. It's a real lot.
Pete's RV and the campers in.
I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of little Blue Compass has got Airstream. You know, the one out of Nashua is going to be there, I guess, and yeah, there'll be a couple of small dealer displays. You know, of course, your buddies in Longview are going to be there, and Cold Springs will be there.
My buddy Frank and Lexi.
Yeah,
yeah. We haven't talked about Blue Compass, which was on the marquee there.
Right.
Unfortunately, and it didn't get a lot of attention, but very tragic news. Back in September, Chris Glenn, who was the COO of Blue Compass, passed away suddenly. And he was not only was he with the company for almost 20 years, I think, he was a close personal friend of John Ferrando. And it just absolutely shocked the company and shocked the industry. Chris was a tremendous executive, and they have not replaced Chris Glenn. And I'm sure they will, given the size of the corporation. But I'm sure they're looking very hard and probably talking to a lot of people internally and externally to put that position in. So it could change the direction of the company too.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I was digging around trying to find some more current information. There isn't any, you know, except, you know, I think it was like the last week of August or something that this happened.
Yeah.
And they really haven't, there's been no other news on that whatsoever that I could find.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what they're going through.
That's Walter's last comment here. RV camping clubs are broken. There will always be some smaller community-based RV clubs, but my opinion is the Good Sam, I think that's North American Family Camping Association, FMCA, which is now FRVA, Escapees are in there. Large camping club have run its course, and younger people have very different social life interests. I think you're 100% correct, and I think that it's a dying breed. And I did see where Escapees is actually going up to Freiburg. Escapees, I was talking to Chris Smith there, who was the executive director down at FMCA and then left. And now he's in charge of community events with Harvest Host. Harvest Host purchased Escapees, and they do not have good coverage in New England. When I spoke to Chris, I said, look, I checked the website. You don't even have a chapter in New England. So it's one of the reasons why they're going up to Freiburg to see, number one, talk more about Escapees, but also to maybe get a couple of chapters going up here. But that starting a chapter, and Walter will tell you this based on his Good Sam stuff, is difficult. And
more difficult today than it was back then, because that organization, that generation that Walter's from, which would, put us roughly in the same boat, they were the people that joined the Kiwanis Club. They joined the Rotary Club. They joined the Chamber of Commerce, that type of thing. This new generation, whether it's right or wrong, they just don't do that stuff anymore.
Well, that's not how they interact socially. And it's not going to go back the other way. I mean, once they found the computers and the iPads and could do it all electronically, that's what they do. And if they do want to get together, they might do a mashup, and they'll put something out that, hey, my husband and I are going mountain climbing at XYZ place. We're going to meet there at 11 o'clock Sunday morning, and that's what they do. They're spontaneous in terms of what they do. They spread the word electronically, and people do it, and the rest of the world doesn't even know it's there. But guess what? The rest of the world doesn't care. That's not. I mean, that's a challenge for any of them right now.
Yep. Like Dante
I
says, they
think
all interact electronically.
I think as you see the millennials start to age in a little bit, I think the FRVA has a fighting chance, based on what I saw in Perry, Georgia, and
What did
based
you
on
see, Walter? Because Walter, because I, it's interesting you bring that up, because I was just checking something out today. When we bought our first RV in 2004, we went to a regional FMCA event down in Brooklyn, Connecticut, and there were probably 150 coaches there. And I said to my wife, and at that time we were 54 years old, 2004,
okay.
54 years old. And I looked around and I said, we are by far the youngest people here, by far, by 10 or 15 years, the youngest people here. And you know what? So I didn't really go back, except, for major events. And there was a time several years ago when Bob and I were friendly with the volunteer leadership, and we said to them, look, 80% of the industry is towables. You only want motorized. You've got to let the towables in. And they said, no. Who do you think you are, Mr. Zagami? Who do you think you are, Mr. DePietro? Well, who was right? They ended up asking for towables to come in. They changed their name, but what did you see for numbers at that event? Perry, Georgia would have been one of the big ones, Walter. How many?
Yeah. It's hard for me to remember exactly what the number was, but it was a pretty full house. They had like a mile square, filled with RVs and lots of rows and stuff. I have to say, though, I think the NASCAR event up here in New Hampshire was a little bit bigger, but I was really impressed with, you're right. There's a lot of folks that are getting around with their electric scooters and stuff like that. And but there was more young people than I ever imagined. And in the leadership of FMCA, you're finding a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I found that to be, refreshing, so a little bit better than I thought, but it was very active group doing music every day. They're out, just like nonstop action, moment to moment
until 9 o'clock.
Well, another thing that you don't see now that you used to see 10 or 15 years ago, when 10 or 15 years ago, if you bought a new RV, you might get a first year. The dealer would pay the first year of your FMCA if you bought a motorhome or maybe escapees and what have you. You don't see that now. The dealerships tend more to hook up with KOA or Thousand Trails, and they offer them that, but they don't publish the fact that there's another group out there. But to combat that, Blue Compass has what they call RV Complete, where when you purchase a motorhome or an RV, any kind of RV, you get a certain set of packages in terms of camping sites and discounts and what have you. And Bernie, I think you guys introduced something called Access for your
inside access with two ends. But it's wonderful. So we have two different camping packages that are 1 year memberships. You pick a region and you get to use that, as many times as you want, pretty much, as you're staying busy. It also comes with a lot of service options, some free propane, free towing and jump starting and fuel service. If you're on the side of the road, kind of broken down, there's a lot of great features in that inside access program. So
so all three of you, Campers in, Blue Compass, and Camping World, have particular packages, but they're geared towards retaining customer loyalty. They don't push them out to an FRVA and have them go down and see 200 more coaches that they can buy. So that's smart marketing. I mean, that's good data-driven marketing. You know your customers, you know what they want, you know what they buy. You can direct your campaigns to them. You can work it with your email. So that also helps destroy the escapees and the FRBAs. They're not going to promote that kind of a conference. And you're also, the three of them are big enough to do their own shows. They really don't need the Boston show or the Charlotte show, what have you. But this industry is so ingrained in the consumer RV shows. There are a lot of dealers that would walk away from them tomorrow if they thought that their competition would walk away too. They spend an incredible, I mean, in your case, spending, bringing over 100 units, and same thing with Pete's, that's expensive. You're talking hotels, you're talking meals, you're talking floor space, you're talking rentals. And then they all kill each other at the show with the lowest prices in town, and it kills your profitability. So it's very difficult. And the larger you are, whether it be a Pete's or Campers Inn or Camping World, larger you are, and you don't see Camping World doing shows anymore. You will see Blue Compass doing shows. But,
Yeah.
One can question, how long are we going to continue to see shows of that side and that magnitude when you have mega dealers who can do their own shows whenever they want? I mean, I see the ads down here in Florida on La Mesa RV, and I didn't put them in that big group, but they're big. They're on the West Coast. They're
Oh,
big
yeah.
in Florida. They do shows every weekend. They rent out they rent out the Lee County Coliseum or Convention Center, which is only 2 exits down from their dealership. And I just saw another ad before we came on. They've got another show there. This is the 4th show they've had there in probably the last 2 months. And they move all the stuff off the dealership and they move it down, and they just call it, the RV USA show or something. But when you get there, guess
It's
what?
one dealer.
It's one dealer.
It's only one dealer.
They do that a lot in Florida. We saw it up in I forget where we were up there, but it was one. Name one of the other big dealers in Florida.
Not Trail.
La Mesa. It was
General or whatever.
La Mesa, not Trail. Yeah.
It was La Mesa.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
they go all over local TV. They call it the Greater Fort Myers RV Show, when in fact it's one dealership.
Yeah. Now, Walter's quick wit. He's going to start a new camping club, Antisocial Adventures RV Club, preferred talking in group chats. Perfect. I don't understand Dante here. They are in the parking lot of the racetrack here in Daytona. Do you mean La Mesa? Oh yeah, it's all La Mesa. Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. Yeah, they do these shows all over Florida, and it's just them.
There's Randy.
Yeah.
Randy,
you forgot to apologize. We got 15 minutes left in the show, and
Yeah, but he's up where it's 0 degrees, Bob. We got to cut him some slack. I mean, it was -7 yesterday.
Up in South Burlington?
Up in Burlington, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
terrible.
it was cold up there. We came through there Sunday or a week ago. I don't know, whatever it was.
So to our fans that are out there, so what is the future? Is as I said, next week we're going to do priority in Route 66. But how big do the big guys get, and how small do the small guys get, or do they just disappear? I mean, my argument is, yes, sir.
I have to stop you on that because this is a thought that I wrote down at 5 o'clock tonight when I was preparing for this show. Bernie, I'm not saying it because you're here. And in fact, I wrote it before we had talked at all. But the thing that I have found is when I have gone into a Campers Inn store, I had a different vibration than when I went into a Camping World store. Camping World store felt corporate, if you know what I mean. Whereas it was a much more homey environment in a Campers Inn store. Now, take that one step further. Let's go to management. We were talking about Marcus Lemonis earlier. I don't know, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't know if he spends much time on the sales floor of any of the dealerships because he was, operating at a different plane of responsibility. But I have been to RV shows in Boston where Jeff Hirsch is sitting down at a closing table writing a deal with a sales rep. And the same thing with Ben the following year. They would rotate coming to Boston. So
yeah, I'm going to tell you one little story about Jeff, and he kind of just kind of sneaks in the building, right? There's been times when I've been up with, I had customers at my desk, and I'm also like, it's time to talk to the manager about something, this, that, or the other thing. And I excuse myself, I'll be right back. And I talk to the manager, come back, and Jeff, I didn't even know he was in the building, is sitting down having a chat with my customers. And he's just having a random conversation.
did he steal the deal from you?
He didn't steal the deal.
Did you give him, Bernie, did you give him half the commission?
It was a house sale.
Yeah, he made sure I split the commission with us. But with that being said, and I had to introduce him to those customers because he never introduced himself as the owner of Campers Inn RV. But he's just so homey like that. He's like, you go to a fancy restaurant and the chef comes out after the dinner rush and starts talking to the customers. That's the way he is. He's the head chef coming out and, hey, how did you enjoy your meal? Do you like our store? Did Bernie do a good job, or whatever it may be? And it's so authentic and so real and so all the way back to, the principles of Campers Inn. It's amazing that we have a guy like that leading our whole company. Yeah.
And you know what? Another guy who would do that same thing is Andy Heck, and out at Alpenhaus, where Andy wears a name tag that says Andy Heck owner. And I approached him one day and I said, Andy, why does your name tag say, why do you, number one, wear a name tag? And why does it say owner? And he said, because people love dealing with the owner. And I've mentioned that to other dealerships and even friends of mine that own car dealerships. It might say sales manager or general manager, but I said, why don't you put owner on it? I said, why? I said, because somebody who's been in business for over 50 years has done the research that said people like to deal with owners. And the fact is that is going to be much more possible with the small dealerships, with the Jeff at Mann's and the Roberts people. And, Lexi will get out more and more at Longview.
I think you're right. And I think we'll see a lot of that next week, the difference between that big mega dealer. But your point is well taken. You're not going to see the Camping World people. You don't get that kind of a feeling. It's a corporate environment.
You're wrong. I just don't see it because
I think we don't have a lot of Blue Compass up here, but I think we have 3 or 4. They're kind of in the middle. If you looked at that, it might be Camping World might be the most distant. Blue Compass pays a lot of attention to employee training, management training, service training. They're forever doing some kind of a class or a university of their people, and it shows with them. But then the other side of that coin is, well, what about that Mann's RV or Cold Springs or Longview RV or Hemlock Hill that have not associated themselves with, they haven't sold to a mega dealer, but each of them has picked either Priority RV or Route 66 to have that banner so customers understand that they've got collectively within those associations just as many rooftops, just as many service facilities, and there's an alternative
there. Arlington's had sales reps there for 30, 35 years.
Yeah.
Down in Rhode Island. And the third generation down there?
They got 4th generation. I think Jim's kids are in the business now. And they're not, interesting enough, there are still some that are not part of mega dealers, that are not part of our Priority RV, that are not part of Route 66. They're standing out there all by themselves. Now they're few and far between. Arlington is not affiliated with any of those groups. And actually, Bernie, it dawned on me today when I was doing the research for this show and for next week. Campers Inn is very unique in that they are a mega deal. There's no question they're a mega deal. 51 stores, 22 states. But in many parts of the country, they're also part of the Priority RV network.
That's
So
right. We're really happy to be part of that network. It's such a great organization, and it's kind of, these dealers play good together with each other's customers. That's one of the best features that it offers our clientele,
Right.
is that they can go to one of these dealers and get prioritized service. And when you're traveling around the country, that's really important. We can't be everywhere, even though now we have the 50, but still in some of these big states, even if you have a dealership, it could be, several hundred miles away. So with that being said, yeah, Priority RV Network is a great organization.
Well, Priority Route 66 both have over 100 dealerships
Right.
in the network. And then, Camping World is the biggest. I think they've got 200 dealership lots. You guys got 51. Blue Compass has over 100 I think they're in 33 states now. It would be an interesting exercise, probably a great project for a summer intern, is take a map of the United States and map out his Camping World, and make it interactive. His Camping World, his Blue Compass, his Campers Inn, and all the Priority RV dealers and all the Route 66 RV dealers. I mean, it may be 80% of all the dealers in the country are somewhere embedded in that mega dealer or that large dealer association or contract. So, and I think that's good for the consumer. To your point, Bernie,
Right.
you can get the service that you want because it's under contract. So the guy that you sell to that winds up in Texas at, I think, Crestview, Crestview is going to treat them as if they were a Crestview customer. And that's part of their contract. You're going to service them within a certain number of hours. You're going to treat them the same way that you do. And that's that's a peace of mind part of the sales contract.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you hear so many stories about people just feeling abandoned and having no resources when they're traveling. And it's important, when you have that behind you, in the RV industry, it's a necessary to have that kind of support. It's just it's real tough. And, it's good that some of these smaller dealerships are jumping on board with these organizations.
Yep. Hi, Charlie. Charlie Butler's a little bit late to the thing. For you and for Randy Murray, Charlie, the process is, if you're going to be late, you have to apologize to our fans for coming in late. Dante says, I did that in the restaurant business. My tag said owner. What kind of restaurant did you own, Dante?
Can't imagine if it wasn't Italian. Yeah.
Walter says, I would start any new RV search probably at Arlington and Longview RV, both independent dealers. And he says, all dealers have the same problem. People, skilled, well-trained, and quality workers. I hear that every day, either from a dealer or from a customer. It's, despite how well the industry is doing, it's still out there. They're having trouble finding people, finding technicians, finding salespeople, and it's what happened.
Willing hands, people that are willing to learn and willing to, grab a wrench and do what they need to do, to help customers out. It's a difficult time, but I have a feeling, this is just completely off the wall here, but as AI starts taking away white collar jobs, getting a good, hands-on craftsmanship type of job is going to be where the money is. It's going to be where people are going to be making a living. Yeah,
it's going to be where the computer can't put you out of business.
That's right.
And you might use the computer for research in that job, but it's still going to take having a plumber. You can't automate the plumbers and the electricians and the carpenters and welders and what have you. So yeah, that's why you see this boom. It's taken 20, 30 years for our country to realize that everybody doesn't want or need a 4-year college degree, especially when you see what they're pushing out in the indoctrination and the political bias. They just don't need that aggravation. Why do you want to do that and come out with a $300,000 or $400,000 bill that you're going to be paying off for the next 40 years?
Yep.
Yeah, both of my nephews have wonderful. One of them is graduating this year. One graduated last year, and from wonderful schools. And other people can envision, AI taking their jobs that they're going to be, searching for. So, yeah, being hands-on is going to be where it's at, and it's going to strengthen America too.
Yeah.
Where we can be more self-reliant, so to speak.
So apologies from Charlie Butler. Apologies accepted, Charlie.
Okay.
And Dante had restaurants called the Italian Oven. They had 2
I love
locations.
it.
Were
We
they,
would
were
have
they
known, Dante,
in
we would have
Maine?
eaten free from your restaurant.
Yeah, yeah. Were they in Maine, Dante? No, he's from there, but he's back down here in Florida also. All right, guys, quick 1 hour. Any closing comments on the conversation? Bernie?
Well, it's an exciting time in the RV industry, and I'm glad to be part of it. I'm just real excited for Campers Inn, and all the other dealers out there. I know it's been a difficult couple of years, but with concerted effort, great service, attention to the customer, we'll all do a lot better.
Bernie, I second your emotion.
Yeah, I think it's the consensus is it's going to get better in 2026. It's going to be slow starting though, so we might see a slow first quarter, and we could just get the country settled down and get people spending their money again. That'll be important.
Yeah, we have to be more creative in how we help our customers. There's ways we can do it. We just have to keep being innovative, and manufacturers are doing a good job of creating some different price point products for different demographics. So, which is great too. So,
all right, don't forget next week, Priority RV Network, Route 66 Network, and the independent RV dealers in New England. So that's it, and we'll sign off now, and we'll see you guys down the road.
Thank you for being with us. We appreciate your presence. Have a great day, Bernie. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Here we go.
How are you doing?